They say lies can never build a happy home, but what if two lies were destined to collide and reveal a truth stronger than fate itself? My name is Alara, and for most of my life I was treated like a shadow in my own father's house, mocked by my stepmother and humiliated by my stepsister Livia, until the day I overheard them whispering about Adrian Blackwood, the richest CEO in the city, feared by many because of his rumored cruelty but pitied because he was blind, and in that whisper I heard my escape. They thought me useless, they laughed that I could marry him because only a fool would suit a blind man, but inside I made a vow that I would play their fool, I would act simple and harmless, and in doing so I would free myself from the misery of being their servant. So I walked into Adrian's mansion trembling, dressed in borrowed silk, and the moment he tilted his head toward me with a faint smile and whispered, "You're the one," my heart nearly stopped, for I thought his blind eyes could not see me, and yet his voice carried the weight of recognition, and within a week I became his wife, Mrs. Alara Blackwood, though I knew nothing about him except rumors, shadows, and secrets, and as our marriage began I kept up my act, spilling tea, fumbling with forks, stumbling like an innocent fool, and every time he only chuckled as if amused, never angry, never fooled, and yet the way he moved unsettled me, because for a man blind from birth, his steps were too precise, his cane tapped more like a prop than a need, and sometimes I swore he was looking straight at me, his gaze piercing through the darkness of his tinted glasses, and at night he played the grand piano, one haunting melody over and over, until finally curiosity broke me and I asked why, and he whispered with an aching softness, "Because it reminds me of someone, a girl from long ago who saved me in a storm, who sang to me, who told me I wasn't alone," and in that instant memories I had buried clawed their way back, because once, as a child, I had found a lost boy in the woods on a stormy night, and I had wrapped him in my coat, humming a lullaby until he stopped shaking, and though I never saw him again, his eyes haunted me in dreams, but I shook it off, telling myself it was coincidence, that this blind CEO couldn't possibly be the boy I once saved, so I carried on pretending, until the night of the gala when everything shattered. My stepsister Livia stormed into the hall, her voice dripping venom. "She's a liar, Adrian. She pretends to be stupid, but she's cunning and manipulative." And the crowd gasped. My heart thundered, but Adrian only chuckled darkly and said, "Oh, I know," before removing his glasses, and the truth struck me like lightning. His eyes weren't blind, they were sharp and alive, and as he stepped closer, whispering, "You think you fooled me, Alara. I've seen through you from the start. I was never blind, and I recognized you from the very first word you spoke. You're her, my dream girl." The world spun because I realized he was the boy I had saved long ago, and tears blurred my vision as I whispered, "You lied to me," and he replied, "And you lied to me, but fate brought us here," and though anger flared between us, though I screamed that our marriage was built on deception, he took my hands and said, "Maybe it began with lies, but tell me, were your feelings false?" And I could not answer, because the truth was burning in my chest, that despite the masks and secrets, I had fallen in love, and the days that followed were chaos with my stepmother's schemes and my stepsister's rumors, but Adrian stood as my shield, declaring to the world that I was his and no one would touch me. Yet in the quiet nights we argued, we cried, we tried to rebuild the trust broken by lies, and slowly the wounds healed, because he played that melody on the piano and I sang the same lullaby I had once sung to him as a child, and he would whisper, "You're not alone," until 1 year later, beneath soft candlelight, we renewed our vows with no masks, no lies, and as he kissed me I realized that though I had faked being a fool and he had faked being blind, our hearts had never lied, for I was his long-lost dream girl, and he was mine, and destiny had written our story long before we ever knew it.